Okay, everything is now live, so Borough Property is first up if we're ready to go. Manager's update for Borough Property. I'm sorry, but I'm having trouble hearing, so I hope you can hear me. As far as outstanding items are concerned, I'm going to be removing two of those. The sidewalk repair in Greensburg Pike was finished. I just want to make sure you were aware of that. The LED light conversion on Fillmore, I'm going to talk about in a minute, very briefly, I hope. Item B, the Centennial Clock. This was something that the mayor had asked me to continue on here, and he wanted me to put some examples of what we were looking at. We have in the grant that's left that will expire at the end of June around 14,000 plus. A basic clock like the ones I'm showing you attached to your agenda could cost about that, depending on what all you want to do and who installs it. The company I'm showing you is just one company, Verdin. They're ones that were recommended to me by other municipalities. As far as I can tell, nobody is on the state contract though for something like this. So you would have to bid it. So I wanted to make sure you were aware of that. Now, I don't know what the mayor wanted to say about it. This was his idea originally. That's why we put it in the grant. And again, he told me earlier today he was not available. So unless you want to talk in some depth about this, we do have a little bit of time. I would include this on the agenda for January and or February for this committee with the same pictures, et cetera, as examples. Obviously, just so you know, a four-sided clock costs more than a two-sided. Adding chiming, adding name, adding a design on the clock face all costs more. But again, because we have to bid it, I don't have any specific costs. They don't really want to give you anything, so they just gave me ballpark. It can be as little as around 14,000 to as much as 35,000. So in any case, I want to make sure you're aware of that. This is specified in the grant. I don't know if there's anything else specified in that grant, and it may be a problem getting the money for anything else, just so you know. But if you're okay with it, I'll just stop there. And unless you want to say something more about it, we can just include this on a future agenda.
That sounds good, Steve.
Okay. The last item, I have detail here, but hopefully this is very quick. You may have seen the email from me just before Thanksgiving from Duquesne Light, where they sent me all of a sudden at the last minute, they told me a request that maybe the 95 watt on Fillmore for LED was too bright and we would get a lot of complaints. I thought I needed to make a decision right away. So I talked briefly with Mr. Tomasic, and we were going to go with the 60 because you can always upgrade at no cost, but you can't downgrade. But after I talked with them again, they said, well, you can wait until the morning of December 3rd, tomorrow morning, in other words, to let me know. And I thought, well, that's good because this gives me one more time just to meet with council briefly. I just wanted to make sure that you have a chance to have input, since you originally had input before, rather than me just giving input. When I talked to the chief, when I talked to Jim, we all kind of agreed that maybe 60 watt did make sense for that circuit. I wanted to see if anybody has any other comments.
No, I think
that sounds good to me, Steve.
Yeah.
Sorry, Patty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's probably a good thing we caught this too, because looking at the numbers, maybe kind of without realizing, we probably would have got a huge amount of complaints. They're probably pretty bright.
My concern too was if you go on Fillmore, I don't know if you did, but there's a lot of lights right in a row too.
Exactly.
That would just amplify the brightness. So then I will tell them 60 watt, and that's all I have for my update.
All right, thanks, Steve. Record items. I don't have anything else that wasn't discussed at the last meeting. Nothing new. Their meeting, I believe, next week. So last one for the year. That takes us to the engineer and foreman's report. And I don't see Dave's not on, huh?
Dave said he had to go somewhere, but he gave me his personal email account, and I sent it to that one, and I don't know what happened to him.
That's all right. I don't think there's nothing here anyways that he hasn't talked about already. So pickleball courts, line painting get done in the spring. That lake remediation grant, we're kind of, I don't think there's anything we can use it on. We don't have any houses that need torn down. So,
Well, I told him he needs to get together with Dawn to see if there's any recommendations, and then of course come back to council. And I don't know if he's talked with Dawn yet or not, but Dawn didn't have a whole lot of good ideas either. So I don't know.
yeah, no, me checking around, I don't think, we have anything in that much disrepair that probably won't get renovated. So I don't know if it's worthwhile for anything. The bird sanctuary, I was put into the capital 2022 capital budget. Foreman, he's next to me. You got any report, anything? Bird property?
Oh, for Borough property? No.
Yeah. All right, nothing.
I'm on here.
Oh, hey, Dave, I don't know if you want to cover anything. We kind of just looked over real quick.
I was on here before, but I was muted.
No, sorry. I don't know. Yeah, you have anything to add
I had
to
to relog
those
in.
items or anything?
Me? I just have three items. Pickleball court, nothing changed there. We're still waiting for the line meeting. That'll be done in spring. The blight remediation grant, we have not gotten anything from Dawn Branzel as far as a different property, so that's still on hold. And the bird sanctuary observation deck will be in the next year's budget. That's all I have.
Sounds good. Thank you. And I don't believe
I have,
nobody. Oh, sorry, Patty. Good.
I do. The RFP for the energy services contract for borough buildings, I obtained the template from the state website. It's 41 pages long. And I have to get an Adobe adapter so that I can type in it and adapt it. I will not be using, all of the parts of that template, obviously, but I hope to be able to get finished with that before our next committee meeting in January. I'm not going to get it done before then. But it looks pretty straightforward, and they have a confirmed list of people that are pre-qualified. I've talked to Ann Lewis in the Triborough COG, who had issued an RFP for an energy services contract earlier this year. They only got one response, and their situation is quite different than ours. It was for a single building that they wanted to put a new roof on, and it really isn't aligned with that program at all. So I'm not aware of any difficulties in proceeding with this, so I will continue slugging away through the 41 pages. The biggest impediment, as usual, is the characterization of the buildings. But because we had an intern working on our eco district project and our energy plan, I do have all the data that we need for that. So we're going to be able to put that together, in a couple of weeks. I'm
Sounds
sorry
good.
to be taking so long on it. I apologize.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Mhm.
Bill?
You're mute.
Oh, you're muted still.
You're muted, Bill.
Thank you very much. Dave, just for clarification on that bird sanctuary, observation deck material is going to be?
It can be bid either with wood or with the tracks. I think it's called tracks to plastic. Or we can bid it both ways to see which gets a better price.
Well, we know what the better price is already, but I just thought we already made a determination that that was going to be tracks and not wood. Am I incorrect?
I guess we could do it that way. Yeah, I think we did talk about that at the last meeting. Yeah. And I think that the size is still up in the air because the original size was a little bit more than I think what the borough wanted to spend, but it's very preliminary at this point.
Yeah, but I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go. You can go, Bill.
I just wanted to say, I think that we made the determination. Can we make it now and say that this should be tracks material as opposed to wood? I think we went through all the processes and the reasons for using that material as opposed to wood.
Yeah, it is less maintenance, and that's the main object.
Yeah, we discussed exactly that. I think if tracks is slightly more expensive, but obviously no maintenance and no painting and nothing required long term. So we decided to go with that and not wood.
Okay, I'll make a note of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Oh, no problem. Sounds good. I think, anything else for our property? If not, I believe we are done. Thank you.
Okay, I need a few seconds, switch over to Public Works. Just hang on with me, please, if you would. Okay, I'm good for Public Works, Mr. Gorel, if you're okay.
I'm good when you are, Steve. Thank you.
Okay, manager's update. Two items to talk about. The middle one is not available. First, Ardmore PennDOT work. They're supposedly beginning core tests on various culvert locations soon. And by the way, Jim and or Dave Gillen may have more to say. It's up to you if you guys want to jump in after I'm done here with the first item. We did meet with the guy who's heading up the project. His first name is Rocky, and I can't remember his last name now. But as well as a representative from the company that's actually doing the construction work, and it is going to be a mess. They anticipate starting sometime after the first quarter of the year, full bore. Now they're going to be doing some preliminary work. They should be working on trees now. That's what we were told. I haven't seen any evidence of that yet, though. I asked Cindy to include again the article we had about the construction work on Ardmore in the next Tree City Times. And we will do that, of course, and put anything we have on, any updates we have on the website. I think there already is one on there right now. But they're apparently going to, they are going to have a crossover. So the traffic's going to go from one side to the other, and there's going to be one lane in each direction, depending on where they're working. They think they're going to be able to do some of it in stages on some parts of it, but it still is going to be quite involved. They cannot do what they did at the park where they were able to line it. That's what I know right now. Again, they anticipate starting sometime in spring with the full project. And it will last for a while, and it will involve, quite a bit of work, even including on weekends. I don't know if Dave or Jim have anything to add, so I'm just going to pause here for a second in case they do.
I just want to add that we are working on, there are 2 sewers that need relocated that are directly underneath the culvert now and will be relocated to be beside it. We are working with on easements that we will get to Steve Corbel for his review, and then out to the property owners to enable us to relocate those 2 sewers. It's very minor. It's only about a 5-foot shift in where the location of the pipe is. And the property where the easements are going is not buildable property anyway. It's very steep. So I don't anticipate any problems with the property owners or any requests for compensation, because it's not really valuable property. But I'll have those for next month, I'm sure. That's all I have on that item.
Okay, the only other thing I had heard was it's possible that and Dave, maybe you know about this or don't, but the first I heard about this was the meeting I had with them about a week ago, and that was that the sewer that we're going to regionalize with Alcosan may end up costing more. There may be more issues with that as they begin to do this work. That it may affect that. So I'm not exactly sure where that's going to go, but I did tell them make sure they stay in touch with Dave and Bob Ziskow so that we can get any final numbers if there is going to be a change on that. That's all I have for the first item. I'm just going to stay one more second. Does anybody else have any questions about that? Okay. Item C, wood chipping policy. Jim and I were getting the calendar ready for 2022, and we noticed that we had changed some of the things in wood chipping, nothing major, that we did not change, and we did not change the original policy, which was established back in 2011. So I attached places where we wanted to strike some language and add some others. Mainly it's in the scheduling. We were supposed to schedule 8 sessions, and we had it kind of different than what we finally ended up practically doing. It worked better this way. So if you folks are okay with the changes you see, I would put it on for a motion to change that policy at the December 15th meeting. And again, it's pretty minor, nothing major, but I'll pause for a moment in case anybody has anything to add or wants to take a quick look at it. Okay, I don't see any takers. So I will have that on for a vote on December 15th under this committee. That's all I have from our report.
Thank you, Steve. Dave, engineers report?
Thank you. Only 2 items. One, nothing new on the MS4 detention pond project. We're still waiting for DEP to issue the permits. And second, the notice to proceed was issued for the Fall Run Interceptor repair project. That's the pipe that Alcosan is going to take over. And work should begin sometime during the month of December. I would estimate 2 to 3 weeks from now. And that's all I have.
Thank you,
Unless there's other
Dave.
questions.
Any questions for Dave? No, thank you. Jimmy, foreman's report?
No,
Which one I gotta push?
nothing. Fine.
I got my list of projects for December. And the only other thing I really have is the head custodian contacted me from Trinity Christian School on Ridge Avenue. And he was asking, they're willing to pay us, or if you want to do it for free. They have like one pile, I guess of leaves as you go in their driveway, I think on the right or left-hand side, he said. And he was wondering if we'd be able to go in with our truck and pick it up. I said I had to ask you guys first what your opinion is. If you wanted us to charge them a little bit, or if you wanted to do it for free. What's everybody's opinion?
Anyone have any comments?
Has this happened before? Did we charge them anything?
I would.
Yeah.
I would suggest that you have some type of fee. Otherwise, you're going to get this request from anybody and everybody in situations involving this. So it could be a minor fee just for the pickup, the cost of the time and machine, which would be nominal.
Yeah, Jimmy, Jimmy, like under half an hour, so whatever you estimate.
I bet it's going to be 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes.
That's what I figured. So, I mean, whatever you think. I mean, $50 to $100. I mean, if everyone sounds fine with that, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, whatever you guys do. Yeah, I mean,
does anyone else have an opinion?
I'm okay with the $15, $20, $25.
I mean, I think I'd probably keep it like it at $100, or unless it takes longer, and then we could always pump it up a little.
I mean, I think $100 charge, and yeah, I mean, Steve, if you can work something out with the contact that Jimmy has for Trinity Christian, I don't see an issue with that, unless if anyone else does.
If that's okay, we would just invoice them probably in
Yeah.
advance. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll talk.
that's fine with me. That's fine with me, Jimmy. Sorry,
Jimmy,
Steve.
Jimmy and I will talk about it tomorrow morning, if that's okay with Jim. You're going to be around tomorrow morning, I assume, Jim, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about it tomorrow morning, and we'll get Wendy to do an invoice.
Okay, sounds good.
Two quick things, just touch points. Jimmy or Dave, I guess. Any updates on the storm sewer, or whatever, the metal risers for the Avenue F? Is that what it is? I always get them confused. For the paving that was done.
I believe it was Avenue A. I thought they were done.
A, that's what I mean. A.
No, it's Avenue A. I talked to Joe, Dave, again, and the contractor's still trying to get it done. I guess he has the risers. We, as a temporary measure, put cold patch in there and took away the real severe bump. So just in case they don't do them before they, before the weather gets real bad. But I know that they're holding money back on the contractor. So,
They told me several times that they were coming, and I guess they didn't show up. So I'll get on them.
Okay, and then before we get into number 3, I just wanted to touch on this. I got an email today, and no one else was attached on it. It was in regards to, and I don't even know if this should be under my committee, but a resident reached out from 639 Cascade. They were driving behind a garbage truck, and the garbage men were putting the recycling into the garbage truck. So if this may need to move the borough property or whatever for next month, but she was concerned that and asked why she's paying more for recycling if it's going into the garbage truck. And she attached a picture, which I can send around to everyone. And it obviously is the garbage truck, not the recycling truck, because the back load, not the side load truck. So I just wanted to touch on that before I got into number 3.
Yeah.
Hey, Billy, my dad wants to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, on that, yeah, I saw them. I think their regular side loading truck was broke down. So I actually, those guys come down the alley here by the garage the other day, and I was talking to them. But yeah, they were using a regular garbage truck for putting all the.
So they were still picking up recycling. They just had to use a regular garbage truck.
Correct.
The
Correct.
side mount wasn't working. Okay.
Correct.
So
Right.
I'll respond to her and take care of that. So Tulip Alley paving complaint, which I think that I believe Frank brought that up last month.
No, that was from Joe Ferraro, if you remember.
Oh,
The
okay.
citizen.
Yes. Oh, yeah, correct. It,
Bill,
emailed it.
Bill Burley wants to make a comment. He's raising his hand.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Bill.
Today, a regular garbage truck came down Halsey and they were picking up the recyclables. So evidently the side one wasn't working.
Thank you. The Tulip Alley complaint, Jimmy, have you looked at that, or Dave?
Yeah,
we looked at it together. I mean, it's in bad shape, but I mean, it's an alley. We have a lot of bad shape. The alley's in bad shape, so.
Right.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
When we get this new backhoe, we're getting a hydraulic jackhammer attachment for the back end of it, for the boom. And we could come in and do some sections of the real bad parts of some of these alleys once we get this. Possibly we could start next year. So that might be one way to start working on some of these alleys.
So,
I think
Steve,
the problem with that one is that it's concrete, or parts of it is concrete, which is not easy to pave over and have the asphalt last. You almost have to replace it with concrete, and that's enormously expensive for an alley.
Right. So, well, that's what I was going to say too. We'd have to take the concrete out, like Jimmy was saying, and patch it in with it would be concrete to asphalt, wherever we need to patch. But then my next question is, I think that this will probably have to be moved to committee of the whole, because Steve or Bill, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that would be, I mean, it's an alley, but wouldn't that become like we would have to make it a road if we do so much work on it? So it might be something we need to ask Steve Corbel.
I don't think you, go ahead, Bill. You're muted, Bill. Bill, you're muted.
Again, I apologize. The normal process that we followed for the last 14 years is pretty simple. At the beginning of the year, you end up starting with a list. Mr. Thielacker and Dave and anybody else, the mayor is welcome to make a recommendation. You then investigate the various streets. For example, how many people are using it? Tulip Alley, I don't know, maybe you have a dozen people using it during the course of a day. It doesn't front anybody's property. You then put a plan together in terms of the money available. You pare that list down. You then analyze it. I know as a council person, I've gone around and looked at the recommendations made, and it's proposed in public, and then you make a decision. So if put it on the list next spring, take a look at it. Does it fit what our program basically suggests? And that is that we take care of our main streets first. and then an alley. And I go use that from time to time. Again, if you're only going 15 mile an hour, you're not going to do any damage to any of your vehicles. And it's an alley with just garages. So that's my point. And I even made that statement to the gentleman when he came here in public. He's the one that raised it. He has the property on the frontage of Ardmore Boulevard, and he's been asking for this for probably at least 8 years.
Yeah, and Bill, I'm not saying to correct the whole thing. I'm just saying if we needed to do minor maintenance work, I thought that because it was an alley, it's not adopted as a street in the borough. So we need to watch how much we do there anyhow. I understand how the list goes on, and we pick from that list. The worst streets need to go first, obviously. But what I'm saying is if we need to take out a few bad sections that are 10 or 12 foot, we could put that in, and Jimmy and his guys and the crew can do the demo work to get the concrete out of there, and we could have the paving guys come in and do sections. But I thought that there was something, I don't know if it's legislation or whatever it is, but once we do so much in an alley, don't we have to adopt it as a street?
No, Bill, that's only for paper streets.
Oh, okay. So
I mean,
okay, so that doesn't apply to the alley.
No, the alley is still Forest Hills Alley. I mean, it's
Okay.
an official alley. It doesn't make any difference from that point of view.
So Dave, if you can just add that to your list for the ones that you and Jimmy are going to work on for next year, that would be
Yeah,
great.
I already have it on the list. I already have it on the list of streets we're going to look at.
Okay.
But
And
I can
then
tell you right now, the list is pretty long.
Right.
I think we have a list that I mean, we'll look at it and we'll look at any other streets that are put forth, but we already have a good many streets with, 30, 40 houses on them that are in need, that are just as bad or worse than that one.
Right. And Dave, I guess my recommendation when you're putting that on there, I'm not saying to rip up the entire alley length. I'm saying if there's a 12 or 20 foot section, I don't know how big those concrete slabs are, but if there's a 12 or 20 foot section, if we can add that in the bid to repair the 1 or 2 sections, let's see if we could do that, because it brings me to the next B's the Atlantic Avenue one. So if we can, I'm sure that's on your list as well, but
Yes,
that's
Atlantic
also
is.
concrete.
Yes.
So that section of Atlantic going back to that, to the park,
Back to the
Cook
park. Yes.
is
Yes.
all concrete. And then going up Forest Glen is also concrete. So
Yes.
I know that both of those, I know Forest Glen was on there last year, but adding Atlantic all concrete onto the list is obviously a huge number as well.
Right.
Because of the prep work.
Yeah, we could look at doing some spot repairs, and we can look at whether we want to have the contractor bid on it or whether it's cheaper for Jim's crew to do it.
Correct.
Right, Jim?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Sure.
for me to answer for us. We were just talking about. Yeah, something like that sounds like he just said they'll they kind of as time goes on, they can do a couple sections. Doesn't need to really be included in the actual paving program. They just take it out of the paving maintenance that they do.
Right, just do some spot
Right. And
repairs.
yeah, and right. And even if it's, I think Jimmy, even if you saw cut, a 4x4 section that's lifted or something, and you put patch in there, it like Bill said, it's an alley. So it's not used by that many vehicles. So I agree. Anyone have anything else? Dave, obviously Atlantic's on your list as well, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I think that's it, unless
Okay.
anyone
I
has
have a
anything else.
question. I have a question. Dave and Jimmy, do you feel like our road paving program is like catching up with the needs, or do you think our list is getting longer and longer every year, meaning we don't do enough? Just a general question.
I think we got a little behind. There was one year we skipped because the money that would have gone for paving went to the municipal building parking lot, I believe. And I think that threw us behind. But other than that, I think we're in pretty good shape as far as keeping up. Like I said, that threw us a little behind, and then we're trying to catch up from that. But I think the funding source of the $1 million is adequate to keep up. What do you think,
Okay.
Jim?
I forgot about that year we skipped. That makes sense.
Yeah, I guess, Dave, maybe this coming year will be the true test with the way everything's getting so expensive and see what
Right,
kind.
yeah, we'll have to see what the asphalt prices look like in the spring.
Right.
Correct.
And see, and then compare it to last year, and then you probably could have a better answer for them next
Yeah,
year.
that could be a concern.
Just a question. Do we have any alternatives to asphalt? For road paving? Not really, right? Just
Not
concrete.
really, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, concrete and asphalt. That's about all there is.
And concrete's probably what, Dave, 3 to 4 times the cost.
10 times the
10
cost.
times the cost. Yeah. So we obviously can't repair with concrete. Anyone else for Public Works? All right, Steve, that concludes my report.
Thanks, Bill. Give me a few seconds and we'll go to operations and policy. Okay, Mr. Lawrence, I'm set up for operations and policy if you're okay.
All righty, go ahead, please.
Okay, I have 5 items to mention, but I think most of them will be pretty brief. First, committee vacancies. I decided to give you a summary of those people whose terms are up in February. It's attached to your agenda. I'm not going to show it to you, but 2 other things that typically don't come up that are also vacancies, I just want to remind you about. The first is the vacancy board chair. That's always named at the organization meeting on June 3rd, that position. The last time you did it, it was Jackie Dempsey. You certainly can reappoint Jackie Dempsey if you prefer. I just wanted to mention that. For years, for example, Roger Arts, I believe, had been the vacancy board chair. And the only time that comes into play is when and if there is a vacancy on council or an elected official vacancy of one kind or another, and council cannot decide within the prescribed time, then it goes to the vacancy board, which is made up of council plus that chair. So I just wanted to mention that to you if you have anybody else you wanted to consider, or if somebody wants to talk to Ms. Dempsey about that. The other thing, long-term, this is a year away, but just wanted to get it on your radar, is Wilkinsburg Penn. There's a 5-year term. Vivian Bras has been our representative. And at the end of next year, December 31st, 2022, her term will be up. So again, long-term, not any hurry on it, but I didn't want to ignore it, just because it's not a typical thing we think about. Any questions on the vacancy issues?
No.
Okay. Item B, Savvy Citizen, just so you know, we are moving forward with that. They have to set us up. We did register with it. It's not a real complicated process, but they have to get some stuff behind the scenes going, and then we give them our payment for the year and et cetera. They are working on an ad that will go in the next Tree City Times. Of course, it will be on our website, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get the word out. The next Tree City Times, the one that's coming up, or maybe it just came out now, I think, did have a mention of that in there, that we were going to be using Savvy Citizen and people should watch the website. So once we get the direction from Savvy Citizen, we will definitely put the information on there. And of course, I'll notify all of you about that as well. But that is in progress. Just want to make sure you're aware that we're working on it. Item C may be the longest thing I need to talk about, and it's not too long. I'm going to share my screen here. Sorry. This is the draft calendar, and there really is only a couple of issues I just need to check with you. This is the one we usually use for advertising once you approve it at the December meeting. The only months that have an issue. January, because there's the organization meeting, in the past, your tradition has been to have all committees meet on one evening rather than two separate committee nights. So usually that meeting would either be the 6th or in this case, the 11th, the Thursday or the Tuesday after. My suggestion is if you want to do it, it probably makes sense to break it up by just going to the 11th. But I just need to get confirmation to that. And then, of course, the 19th would be the regular business meeting. So if you still want to do one meeting for all committees, usually what happens is the manager, myself, runs those meetings, and I do it with a PowerPoint or something that I can show everybody either here. I guess we'll be still doing it on Zoom probably. I just need to verify the date or if anybody has an objection to doing it. Now, I did, by the way, send this information out to the 3 members who are not currently on council, so they're aware of it as well. And the indication I had from them was nobody had any objections to basically what I had given them. So I just need to know from you, is it still okay to do one night first?
Unless somebody has objections, I think it's fine. Let's go with the 11th and move on, unless anyone
Okay.
has any thoughts.
Any other thoughts? The only other months, 2 months, September, because I go to that annual conference in September, which is what the blue numbers are, 17th to the 21st, assuming they hold it. Usually that means the business meeting is moved because council wants me to be present. Now that doesn't have to be, that's up to you, but
That's fine.
that's what's happened in the past. So that would make it either the 14th, which means you'd have committees on the 1st and the 6th, or would make it the 28th, which means you could still do the committees on the 6th and the 13th. So again, I would just need to know clarified from you whether you have a preference as to dates in September.
I have no. It's fine the way it is.
No, so use the
Okay.
6th and the 13th and have the meeting on the 28th then? Okay, I don't see any
That's fine.
objection to that. The only other thing I just want to mention again, and that's probably November, just like this past November, I may be out of town. I'm not sure yet. I will let you know when I do know. But if that's the case, I would miss a committee meeting night. The election in November is on the 8th. So committees would meet the 1st and usually on the 10th then. But I could possibly miss one or another of those meetings. So I just want to mention that. There's nothing really to do with that. What I will advertise would be the 1st and the 10th for November for committees, and then the 16th for the business meeting. But I just want to make sure
Okay.
you're aware of that. If everyone else is okay with this calendar, then the black dates are the committee dates, the red circle dates are the business meeting dates. I'll eliminate the 14th of September, and I'll use the 11th of January and eliminate the 6th of January if there's no objection.
Okay,
I have a
good.
question / December, I noticed the business meeting is on the Christmas week. So I wonder if it would be better to have the committees on the 1st and the 6th and the business meeting on the 14th. I don't have any hard feelings about it, just a suggestion. To avoid
Good
Christmas.
point, Marcus. Yeah, that's a good point.
Steve, you're on mute. Steve,
Okay, I'm sorry. I switched screens and it was muting me. Yeah, that's a good point about the December. You could move it to the
Yeah.
1st and the 6th, because certainly the 1st is far enough away from Thanksgiving that it probably wouldn't be a problem. I don't know of any conflicts. And then that way move the business meeting up to the 14th. That's up to you. The only issue would be the advertising of the budget in November, but that's still plenty of time with the 16th being the meeting in November.
Yeah,
What do you
that's
feel?
okay.
that's what we have this year anyway. It's pretty much what we're doing
Yeah,
this
that's
year.
fine. That's fine.
So move it to the 1st and the 6th. Is
Yeah.
that okay with everybody?
Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
I will do that. So the 1st and the 6th will be in there, and the 11th of January. And then, So there's nothing else about the calendar. Let me go on to my next item, and that's the end of year reminders. These are just things that are coming up in December. At the December 15th meeting, you'll hopefully approve a new budget, a new fee resolution, a new tax resolution, not an ordinance, as Mr. Corbel said last month. Since you're not raising taxes, you can do it by resolution. You'll approve the meeting dates we just talked about, and the police pension contribution. I'll get to that under public safety, but that's something we've done every year. And then the organization meeting is January 3rd at 7 o'clock. I don't know who will administer the oath of office. In the past, it has been Judge Caulfield. I don't know if he will do that now that he is elected to the county bench, or if anybody has any other preferences or any other ideas. I usually don't contact them. Usually somebody else contacts the judge on behalf of the new members of council. So I'm not sure if anybody wants to do or has anybody to do that or not, but I just want to mention that to you. I'll keep that in front of you. You don't have to come up with a decision now. The other thing related to the end of year citizenship award, Ms. Sawiski was informed of her selection, and she's very humble about it. She will attend the December 15th meeting to get that. Now, what we usually do is give a certificate with a very brief comment on there about the reason why we're giving her the award. Now, certainly there's a lot of things she's done, but if anybody has anything in particular want me to focus on when I write that little paragraph up, could you please email me? Some of you know Nina better than I do, although I did have worked with her, of course, when she was on council. I know she's an accomplished photographer, and she's been on the Tree and Shrub Committee, obviously president of council, and a number of other things. I think she's in the garden club. Well, is she in one of the garden clubs, I believe? What is it? Which one? Is it Late Bloomers? Late Bloomers.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of things, but if anybody has something specific I'd like to know about, please tell me, because I'll put that into the paragraph other than the things I just mentioned. Any questions on the end of the year stuff?
No?
The only, go
I,
ahead, Marcus.
quick comment. I think Frank knows Tom the best. I wonder if we should ask Frank if he can ask Tom for us.
Okay. I'll do that.
See him every Wednesday at Rotary. I can ask him easily.
Good. Okay. Let me
You-
just follow, if you could follow up with me, let me know. I won't print that until probably the 14th anyway, so there's time. And it's pretty easy. I usually include a couple photos of things they've been involved with, even if it doesn't show them on it. And then a paragraph, and of course, it's the Marty O'Malley Award, as we call it. The last item is the Tree City Times and intern report. You want me to keep this on this agenda for the future? With everything going on here, I haven't had a chance to update that at all. So unless you have something new to add to it, I just repeated what I had on the agenda in the November meeting. I don't have anything new right now, but I know there's other
No.
things we need to put on here. So if you're okay,
No, I
I'll
think
just,
you can actually, if you want, you can just push it out to February.
okay, well, I'll do that. Thank you. That's all I have to report then. I'm finished, Mr. Lawrence.
Okay, I don't have anything else to add. I'll have to say I was a little lax. I did review the material you sent me about policies for Memorial Bench, and frankly, I just did not get that stuff together. So I'll push that out to January, and the new council can look at it. Frankly, some of it's stuff that's more legalese than anything else. But like I said, it's okay. We'll just push that out till then after the reorganization. Anything else? Mr. Erberlinger, Marcus, I think you had some questions.
Yes, it's actually a question for Steve. I was wondering, Steve, did you have time to do the fee calculation and let us know what is changing? Are there anything changing from this new contract to the old contract? This kind of questions.
Well, well, first, let me start by saying I'm waiting for some answers from Steve Corbel and from Allison Sarakowski. And part of the problem has been that one or another of us have all been on vacation at different times. So I don't quite have everything together. I'm still looking at, I think, in the vicinity of $260. Now, what goes into that? Let me explain in advance of the fee resolution next week. what goes into that is some things that can be costly. For example, you give a discount to seniors who qualify. Well, basically, that $50 discount has to be made up somewhere, unless you want the taxes to eat it. We also build into the fee staff time. I'm sorry, was there a question? Okay. We also build into the fee staff time, the cost of mailing, the cost of paper, envelopes. We build in the cost of the various recycling dumpsters we have around the borough that are used because we don't have that as part of the recycle program that Waste Management picks up, like the cardboard, for example. So we build that in. There had been in the past a tipping fee of 50 cents per unit per month. I'm asking Steve Corbel if that's in there, because when I read the bid, it sounds to me like it's included. So that until I have some of those answers, I don't know. I don't think it'll go above 260, but I think it's going to approach that number right now. You could save money if you want the budget, the taxes instead to take care of the dumpsters. That could save you $5 or $10, but it is a substantial increase. If you look at the cost of this year's bid for recycling, it's about 1.8, a little over 1.8 mil equivalent for that. So that's what you would be doing to pay for it if you were just taking out taxes. You'd be doing something like that. Probably really 2 mils when you build in all those other things I just mentioned. So that's my ballpark number. Unfortunately, I was hoping to have something more specific tonight, but we just met, in fact, yesterday, but Allison realized she had the wrong number on something. So she's checking that out. These are all mostly minor numbers, but I did want to also double check the recycling dumpster costs. I didn't want to intermingle the rec lodge trash dumpster, the pool trash dumpster with the recycling ones, because those should be separate. And those things all go into it though. And then of course there's delinquencies. So that's something I have to build in too. If
So
you
basically it's going up by 35% if it's in that ballpark. It's a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
And then my other question, if anyone looked into the small print, is there anything changing from this year to, like, besides costs, like anything changing?
From my point of view, as far as I know, it's still going to be every other week recycling. Glass is included, as Mr. Corbel mentioned. And the other recycling items stay the same. The hazardous waste collection stays the same, as far as I can tell from what I read.
It's my perception that that's correct.
That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
And just for the record, I think it's important that we do not try to hide the costs of trash and recycling in taxes. It should be straightforward that people understand the cost of disposing of things. And that's a reason to have that fee, among others. Just on record, I don't think we should ever be hiding discounts for senior citizens or anything in just regular taxes. But other than that, I have nothing else on property policies.
Okay. Mr. Tomasik's raising his hand, Mr. Lawrence.
Yes, sir.
I would just like to make sure that everybody understands, whenever you're doing like a senior discount, that is up to you in terms of whether or not you want to do it. The amount is also up to council, but it should be understood that just because you're a senior doesn't mean you get the discount. You have to qualify for it in terms of your economic status. So that should be noted, because people would think that, well, just because you're 65 or older, that you somehow get a discount. And that's not true.
Thanks.
I don't have it in front of me, but I believe that there's 172 seniors who qualify right now. So.
Okay,
And that's
anyone
all.
else? Anything else? No other hands are raised. I think we are done.
Okay, give me a few seconds. I'll have public safety up and running. Just a few seconds, please. Okay, Mr. Erwinger, I'm good.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, just two items. Usually I don't mention outstanding items, but I wanted to let you know the cameras at various locations. We are working on upgrading cameras here in the municipal building on in a couple of areas. The police side, the office, the perimeter of the building. That would also tie in additional borough properties like the ball fields and the parking lot over here at the rec lodge and things like that. We'll let you know more about that as we go. That is covered by what we have left in the building fund. So that's not going to be any increase in a tax or anything like that. It would be covered. If it ends up being exorbitant or something, I will let you know, but usually these things don't cost a whole lot. But there are a couple of tweaks we need to make to the system to be able to do this. So I just want to make sure you were aware of that. Anybody have any questions about that?
I'm fine.
Okay, the second item, I attached a letter from Mock and Hop that we ask for every year to determine whether or not the police should contribute 5% to their pension. And you can see from the letter that they agree that it should be no less than 5%. So what usually happens is in December, sometimes November, but usually December, council passes a resolution to that effect. So essentially all I have to do is get the old resolution and just change the dates on it and indicate that for 2022, there will be a 5% contribution from police officers to the pension fund. So assuming you approve of that, that will be on the December 15th agenda for your consideration.
I agree. I mean, we do it every year.
And Mr. Oberner, I don't have anything else to report.
All right. So next we have the fire department bills, which is pretty much routine stuff like they have almost every month this month. So any comments, Jack and Tom?
Yes, sir. Nothing.
EMS report is attached. Seems to be pretty much like normal volume looking at it. And number 4, business reports. We asked on Ardmore traffic. We asked Mr. Gillen 2 questions. We want to increase the signage, like how they do it on Turnpike, where they actually warn ahead. Traffic speed is going to change, and then there will be a 35. And we also asked, can we have 2 signs in each direction, like one on the medium and one on the side? And then we asked if we can time our traffic lights to kind of slow down people who are speeding. Like if someone is driving 50 miles an hour, he will basically hit the next red light. So, Mr. Gillen, do you have anything to say about? Did you talk to your PennDOT people?
Yeah, the traffic light system is computerized, so it's set to make traffic flow. I think for this coming year, we're not going to have that problem with the crossovers and such. But I think they could adjust that. They'd have to do a traffic study on their part to justify that. And as far as the speed limit, it's the same thing. They have to do a speed limit study. So all they need from us is really a formal request, and I can draw that up. I think Steve would have to sign it as borough manager, requesting that they look at those 2 things and see if they can maybe get it done before things get back to normal in 2023.
Yeah, we basically was going to ask if we can have 35 miles pretty much from Forest Hills entrance
from
to
Chalfont to the Parkway.
Yes.
You want the whole length? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we'll request. I'll write the letter up, and I'll have Steve put it on stationery and email it to PennDOT.
Jack and Tom, do you agree? I think we can just do it out of committee if no one else has anything to say.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Next, the deer bow hunting. I did some research myself. I talked to the chief, and pretty much I think the issues the residents was complaining is clearly not Forest Hills. It's state law, state hunting and all that stuff. And I'm convinced that the chief has a really tight control over our own parks. So I'm satisfied with that. So I think we can just remove it in my mind. Jack, Tom, any comment on that?
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I was just gonna say that too. I thought, our hunting issues that, we took on were only for the parks. I believe that's
Yes,
correct,
and
right?
pretty much
Hunting on private property has always been allowed under following, the game.
exactly. If it's like
all that kind of stuff.
exactly, and there are also rules which are maybe, I personally think they're a little bit, they should be a little bit larger distances, but that's not us to decide and to discuss. And our chief has pretty tight control who gets a permit and where they can do it and all that. Pretty much it's at the moment just behind the Westinghouse back. So I'm satisfied. Okay, so next we have the chief's report. Chief Williams, I think you're the only one here.
Thank you, Mr. Erbaldinger. First off, we've been working with Public Works on trying to get vehicles that are going to be parked in these alleys removed prior to the snow removal issues that are going to be coming up here in the near future. So I know that, over some period of time, some of these people creep out and end up partially on their own property and into the alleys. And, Jim lets us know that through his guys that there may be a vehicle or two that are going to interfere with their ability to do the plowing even with the smaller trucks. So we've been working on that and trying to get these people to move their vehicles. Sometimes it requires a little more than just a conversation. And hopefully for the most part, they understand and they understand that it benefits them as well as all their neighbors. So they generally are cooperative with that. Some people have some issue. Maybe we have a little hard time getting a hold of them because we'll have a vehicle parked in an alley that comes back to a different address in a different area that's not even ours. And we have to track them down because maybe they are a renter or whatever. And it just takes a little time to get through the confusion to figure out who they are and get their attention. And, they get back to us and we can take care of that problem. But that's one of the many things that happens this time of year with the weather. And again, another weather issue is going to be, we're going to have to remind people if we do get a bigger snow that we have the emergency access routes in the borough that they cannot park on during periods of time where we exceed a certain snowfall. So again, these are things that are up and coming and, we're going to monitor them, keep an eye on them. And hopefully we'll get the cooperation we need from the residents. That's all I have.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I have a question for the chief. If
Ali.
there were a number of accidents reported on the police report. One of them involved a pedestrian. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, that was the one that happened actually the other day, and it was right outside the Exxon station on Ardmore next to the bistro. And what happened was the gentleman was walking on the sidewalk, I believe, based on the report that, and I was at that scene. I think he just stepped in front of the car when the guy was actually pulling out onto the highway. And I don't think that the gentleman driving the car saw him making his move across the sidewalk area as he was distracted by everything that was going on up by Ardmore and Marion. And, the gentleman wasn't injured badly. He was just tapped. But again, it doesn't take much to get hurt when you get hit by something so big. Luckily, it wasn't something that happened on, let's say, Ardmore. It was more coming out of a business and there's a sidewalk there and the guy's trying to beat the car and the guy in the car really didn't see him because he didn't expect him to be there. And, again, that's why we call them accidents. Luckily, nobody was hurt that badly. And, we really didn't have to take much action there other than give the guy a citation for his failure to pay attention, basically.
Thank you.
Good. Glad no one got hurt.
Mhm.
All right. Anything else for the Public Safety Committee? All right. I think that concludes public safety. And I believe that concludes tonight's meetings.
Right, we're done. Next meeting is December 7th, Tuesday night. We'll see you all then.
Very, very quickly, I wanted to note, I did send out an email. There will be an executive session after next week's Zoom meeting in person here at the Borough Building.
And I will send out the Zoom. It may be a little bit late because I have to take the 6th off, but I will try to get it to you at least by the morning of the 7th, if not sooner. Good night, everybody. See you on the 7th.